Okay, guys, real quick, story time. I got to tell this story as fast as I could because I got a lot to get out. I may have to make a part two. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to make a part two. So I need you guys to listen real careful because I got a lot I'm trying to explain to you. In this picture here, this guy behind me, his name is Curtis Wyndham. Me and him grew up together. He's about 59, 58, 59. I'll be 55 here soon. And so the age difference is not that much. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We were good friends. I saw him every day. I talked to him every day. We spoke every day. We didn't like hang out together, but we was tight friends. I knew his family. He knew my family, brothers and sisters, his mom. So he was a friend of mine. Right now, Curtis Wyndham is in prison, the Florida State Penitentiary, on death row. And just 2 days ago, our governor, Ron DeSantis, signed his death certificate or his death warrant. So he's going to be put to death if nothing changed next month, August 28th at 6 p.m. What Curtis Wyndham, my friend, did, and a lot of our friends here in Winter Garden did, what he did was horrible. He killed 3 people in this city and he shot a 4th, like in cold blood. He killed my friend named, which was his best friend, named Johnny Lee. Then he killed his girlfriend, which was a dear friend of mine. She was like a sister to me because her mom helped raise me. Her name was Valerie. He killed her. She was his girlfriend at the time, and he killed her mom, which her name was Mary Lois. She was, like I said, she was like my mom. So what he did was absolutely 100% horrific. He did not have to do it. I wish to God that never happened. Like he changed this city, and he changed the lives of so many people because there were children involved. He had children. Val had children outside of her home. Johnny had children, and so you got a generation of children that came up with no mom, no grandma, no father. And we've all in Winter have seen the effects of that. But anyway, I don't want to concentrate on what he did so much. I want to concentrate on what led up to what he did. Because what led up to what he did, it happened all over this country. It happened all over America. What led up to what he did was, my bad, a truck was about to come by. But what led up to what he did happened all over this country, like I said. And it was directly or indirectly because of crack cocaine. Crack cocaine came on the scene from mid-'80s to early '90s, across this country. By the early '90s, every little small town, city, large town, and city had got introduced to crack cocaine. Here in Winter Garden, because we're so close to Miami, so close to so many ports, we got introduced early to it. Winter Garden is a little small town outside of Orlando in Florida, and it was a major hub here in Florida. A lot of people made a lot of money selling crack cocaine, but that wasn't unique to Winter Garden. That was, like I said, it happened all over the country, to every little small hood, every big city, and it changed the face of the neighborhood because it was a drug that we had never seen before. It was a drug that we never seen the effects of it. I mean, now all of a sudden, you had old people, elderly people going to prison, state prison, because of tax evasion, because they decided to put their children's name that was selling drugs on cars and houses and stuff like that. So these older people were getting sentenced to 10, 15 years in prison. They had already retired from their jobs and was receiving their benefits and pensions and stuff, and had their lives uprooted by this demonic drug called crack cocaine. And it wasn't like they were drug dealers or some mob or had mob ties. These were just regular country people that happened on this new drug that brought a tremendous amount of money. At first, when crack cocaine hit, it made a lot of people rich, and it made a lot of people lives better. At first, it was no envy. It was no robbing people for it. It was no turf wars. I know here in Florida it wasn't at first. But after the first couple years passed by, then all of those things start happening. People start getting robbed. We now see a fucking crackhead. Like before then, there was no such thing as a crackhead. Now we see people that would do anything for it, anything for it. And then you had these people that would make them do anything for it. So, like I said, it made the black neighborhood unrecognizable. But crack cocaine didn't just haphazardly get here. People sometimes think that crack cocaine got into the black neighborhood because maybe, I guess, niggas was cooking and somehow accidentally mixed some cocaine with some bake, and it came up to crack, and that's how we got it. Crack cocaine didn't happen like that. Crack cocaine it's a designed drug, and it was designed by America's top scientists and top chemists. And I'm gonna tell you why they did it. They did it because we had a president who thought he was a king or a dictatorship, and he would not obey the law. Um, Down in Colombia, they had a rebellion. You had the Contras and the Sandinistas. The Sandinistas were in power. They were running Colombia. The Sandinistas were more communist or socialist. The Contras were more capitalist and democratic. Ronald Reagan wanted to overthrow the Sandinistas and install the Contras. He wanted to do that for Colombia. At first, America was on board with it. So at first we were funding that rebellion. But after so long, nothing was changing. It was a stalemate. America voted to end the funding and just let those people settle their differences on their own. Right? So they voted to end the funding. Ronald Reagan could not take that. Instead of him just say, okay, well, I'm going to take that as a loss, or I'm trying to get some more Republicans on my side. And so when they come back up, we'll get this funding back through votes. He didn't do that. What he decided to do was find another way to fund it. Whenever a president do what he want to do, that shit can change the country very quickly, because you create a subculture that's under the radar. And what he tried to do was, at first he tried to sell weapons to Iran. Iran was in a rebellion as well, so he was selling guns and weapons to Iran. And instead of taking that money that he made from Iran and bringing it back to the American coffers, what he did, he shipped the money down to Colombia and gave it to the Contras so they can buy their weapons. So he was trying to fund the war like that. Well, eventually, they caught on to what was happening. He got in a lot of trouble. It was a big scandal. It was called the Iran-Contra scandal, and they ended that program. Instead of him walking away again and just deciding, okay, I need to get the votes so I can start this funding back up legally, no, he came up with another way to fund it. Since Colombia was already a major cocaine distributor, they grew cocaine in Colombia and still do, but back then it was powder cocaine. So he decided to get the CIA to take the cocaine from Colombia and distribute it all over America, in neighborhoods all over America, and sell it like that. Okay, they did that for a while, but the money wasn't coming fast enough. So they needed to come up with a perfect drug, something that they can make a lot of money on relatively quick. So they decided to go into the lab, send chemists and scientists into the lab, and design a perfect drug. That drug had to have 4 components. It had to be highly addictive. It had to have a high ceiling meaning you had to do a lot of it before you overdose. Like marijuana, you have to do 11 pounds in one sitting before you overdose. Crack cocaine, you don't have to do that much, but you will be so paranoid before you overdose on it that it's going to be hard to die from it. And then the third component, it had to be delivered into the blood relatively quick. And the fourth component, it had to be, the high had to be short, no more than 10 to 15 minutes. Because if a person was high for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours, that means they wasn't buying any more drugs. And so that money was slow coming. They needed somebody to be back in 10 or 15 minutes wanting some more. And they went into the lab, and they came out. When they came out of the lab, they had crack cocaine in their hand. And that is why we have the issues in this country that we have. Stay tuned for part 2.